The genealogy of a group of people has always been a matter of great interest. The study of it describes the characteristic features of such people. Throughout history, there have been explanations regarding the ancestors of nations. Religious explanations are prominent among these. The Bible leads in this regard, as it has a complete chapter on the genealogy of different people. This chapter is called the Table of Nations in the book of Genesis. The ancestors of people from different regions of the modern world are explained in great detail in it. This includes Asians, Europeans, and inhabitants of other parts of the world. Various interpretations of these excerpts from the Bible suggest the origin of European people from a single line of descendants. European people, just like any other race, originate from a single person and his progeny. The Bible explains this in these words.
This is the account of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, Noah's sons, who themselves had sons after the floods. The sons of Japheth: Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras. The sons of Gomer: Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. The sons of Javan: Elisha, Tarshish, and Kittis, and the Rodanites. From these maritime people spread out into territories by their clans within their nations, each with its own language.
Genesis 10:1-5. This genealogy explains the ancestors of modern Europeans. Their connection with the Bible's account is a matter of great interest, as this contributes to their history and culture as well. Therefore, it is beneficial to look upon the religious narration about the origin of Europeans and verify them by applying the counterchecks for the enrichment of knowledge in the field. Arguably the most progressive people of the modern world, the Europeans, are the descendants of Noah's son Japheth according to the Bible. According to this narration, when after the great floods most of the people perished, and Noah's son Japheth started his progeny in the southern coastal parts of modern-day Europe. From these places such as Greece, Japheth's descendants moved to continental Europe and settled there. This feels logical as well, because throughout history, the first settlements of any group of people have been on coastal areas, and then the settlements have expanded to other territories. The expansion into the inland Europe has been no different. Although Noah had other sons, Shem and Ham, it was Japheth who was considered the sole ancestor of Europeans. It has to be noted that Japheth had 7 sons, and not all of them are considered the ancestors of Europeans. For example, Madai settled in the region of modern-day Iran and the Middle East. The Persian lands of the past were the places inhabited by Madai's progeny. It should be kept in mind that the Bible's interpretation and its connection to modern lands are made by religious scholars of Christianity who have the expertise to study the religious text and infer the details from it. Discussing Japheth's sons who had settled in European lands, Gomer comes first. He is considered the founder of the various European nations of the modern world. He had 3 sons by the names of Ashkenaz, Togarmah, and Riphath. Ashkenaz is thought to be the father of Germanic races of Europe. He's also associated with the Jewish communities of Europe. The historical records and archaeological facts second the biblical explanation. Richard Elliot Friedman, a renowned biblical scholar, further reinforces the historical context of this explanation. Gomer's other son, Togarmah, is also considered as the forefather of some regions of Europe. He is thought to be the ancestor of some parts of modern Turkey. This grandson of Japheth settled in the southeastern part of Europe and started his lineage there. The biblical account of this is also seconded by Walter Brueggemann, a theologian and Old Testament scholar. He has written extensively on Genesis and correlated the origin of this part of modern Europe to Japheth's grandson Togarmah. Japheth's second son, who is linked to the Europeans, is Magog. He is interpreted to be the ancestor of some regions of Eastern Europe. These places include the modern-day Serbia, Croatia, and Slovenia. As it can be seen, these regions have Slavic people as their inhabitants. John E. Walton is an Old Testament scholar who has worked extensively to establish the Genesis interpretation and connected it to the Near Eastern European people. It is he who establishes the connection of the Slavic people with Magog. Arguably, the son of Japheth, who has contributed the most in furthering his progeny in Europe, is Javan. He is the forefather of Europeans of all nations, as he was the one who started from the coastal regions of Europe in the south. He had 3 sons, Elisha, Tarshish, and Kittim. All of them settled in different parts of Europe and started their lineage. Elisha is considered the forefather of modern-day Greece. From this coastal region, his descendants migrated to different parts of Europe. Tarshish, the second son of Javan, settled in distant coastal regions such as modern-day Spain and Portugal. He was the one who inhabited the remote lands and explored other places of Europe. The third son of Javan, Kittim, also contributed greatly to the furthering of the European race. He settled in the European regions connected to the Mediterranean Sea. The modern-day Cyprus and the nations around the Adriatic and Aegean Sea are considered the descendants of Kittim. From these regions, their descendants moved inward and explored continental Europe. As Javan's 3 sons settled in different parts of Europe, he is considered the true ancestor of European people. Gordon Wenham, an expert in biblical Hebrew interpretation, has worked extensively to establish Europeans as a progeny of Javan. If Javan is considered the forefather of coastal regions of Europe, it is Tubal, the other son of Japheth, who is responsible for furthering the European race inland. He settled in regions constituting the modern-day Turkey and parts of Eastern Europe. The regions attributed to him are countries such as Bulgaria, Romania, and Albania. On close looking, one can see that these people have some commonalities among them. Nahum Sarna, a respected biblical scholar, has interpreted Tubal to be the prime ancestor of people of these European lands. Meshesh, the brother of Tubal, did not settle too far away from him. He is also interpreted as the father of people of some regions of Eastern Europe. These regions include the northeastern regions such as the modern-day Czech Republic and the places surrounding it. This is also interpreted from chapter 10 of the Genesis. So, these parts of the world are also the descendants of Japheth, the son of Noah. After discussing the genealogy of Europeans, it is imperative to study some important states of modern times and how their origins relate to the biblical explanation. The first country whose origin can be studied is Great Britain. There is no clear reference to the origin of Britons in the Bible, but several religious scholars consider they are the offspring of Tarshish, the son of Javan, who settled in the regions of Spain and Portugal. It is speculated that his descendants might have crossed the English Channel and settled in Britain. Historia Britonum, a 9th century work regarding the history of Britain, mentions this aspect of the history of Britons. On the other hand, the French people are considered the descendants of Elisha, the son of Javan. He had settled in Greece, and it is speculated that his progeny might have traveled inland and explored the region of France. Several religious scholars have nodded in approval of this argument. So, the French people are also the descendants of Japheth. Modern-day German people are argued to be the offspring of Ashkenaz, the son of Gomer. He is also associated with Jewish communities in Europe. As Jews have traditionally inhabited Germany, this argument is logically connected and justified. Moreover, the Germanic races in Austria, Poland, and Bohemia are all the descendants of Ashkenaz, the grandson of Japheth. Italian people are also connected to Japheth and his progeny. They are mostly linked to Kittim, the son of Javan. He was the one who settled in areas around the Adriatic and Aegean seas. It is therefore logical to connect Italians to the grandson of Japheth. Modern-day Italy has its shores in the Mediterranean Sea, which is the same region in which Kittim had settled. So, modern Italy is also a country that has its origins justifiably explained by the Bible. Russians are also somehow connected to Japheth's progeny. Although there is no clear account of Japheth's sons settling in Russian lands, some religious scholars have connected Russians to the progeny of his son Magog, who had settled in the Near East. It is speculated that Magog's offspring might have migrated to lands that constitute modern Russia. So, it can be said that Russians are also the descendants of Japheth, as explained by the Bible. The whole discussion about the genealogy of Europeans becomes relevant when one sees the characteristic features of some nations against others in Europe. For example, the Slavic people of Eastern Europe have similarities with Russian people. This argument becomes valid when we know that we have already established both Russians and Slavic people of East Asia as the descendants of Magog. Similarly, the progeny of Tubal, the other son of Japheth, such as the inhabitants of modern Turkey, and the states of Romania, Bulgaria, and Albania, have similarities in culture. So, it can be conveniently established that the biblical explanation of the origin of Europeans is congruent with facts. John Goldingay has made a comprehensive thesis on Japheth's genealogy and its link with the history and culture of European nations. This further reinforces the explanation of origins according to traits of different European people. In conclusion, it can be said that the Bible not only describes the genealogy of Europeans, it makes this explanation logically justified. It portrays Japheth as the sole forefather of all Europeans. It was his sons who migrated to different regions of the continent and furthered the European race as it is known today. Some of them settled on shores of the Mediterranean, while others migrated inland. The passage of time, these brothers diversified the whole continent. The great European nations of today are also the descendants of Japheth, the son of Noah. An interesting thing about biblical explanation is that this matches the narrations from other sources. This makes these accounts from the Bible a reliable source while talking about the origin of Europeans. What do you think about our relationship with Noah and his sons? Aren't we all distant relatives after all? Subscribe to the channel, and if you are thirsty for more knowledge, just play the video we offer on the left of your screen.